How much snow do you guys have?
I mean, it's supposed to get up to 5 to 6 inches by the end of the night, but I mean, it's kind of supposed to snow for most of the tonight right now, so it might mean I get work off tomorrow too. So we'll see.
All right. Well, let's take a look.
When you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener. When you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Cool.
When you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Cool. So you said you didn't get to do a lot of the dialogue stuff, right?
Yeah, I didn't really touch the lip sync as much. Basically, anything facially, like I didn't really touch too much.
Okay. So I got a couple things on the body. It's all sort of like within what you've done, but
Okay, sure.
I like all of these gestures. There's something a little.
When you're telling these little stories,
It's just a little chattery and a little clicky
Okay.
through here, and I like the idea of it, and it's kind of this, roundabout thing with the glasses, but like the elbow and stuff, it feels like that it's almost like it's the same timing and stuff. It's just sort of a spacing
Uh,
thing and giving it a little kind of grace.
yeah, sure.
Um, and even through here, it sort of feels like the spacing is a little even. And maybe like on the end of that, there's something that feels a little. Is this in IK?
Yeah, it's an IK.
Yeah. I'm really kind of aware of the uh, kind of lack of angle change on his hand. Um,
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
it's sort of like in that pose and then kind of moving around. And I think that you wouldn't have to switch it to IK or anything, but just kind of on these extremes, if the hand changed angle a little
Yeah.
bit, so it feels a little more
Okay.
connected. Um, on this gesture too, it feels a little bit like that little overshoot and stuff is great, but it's happening
hmm
almost all in the translation of the hand rather than kind of a
Like a
yeah, like
yeah, like a little pop.
just a little
Okay.
little
Yeah.
rotation, doing it with your wrist and the fingers and everything,
Yeah, yeah.
because even on the spacing on the arm here, it's like even if it's kind of coming more towards camera here, but
Uh-huh.
graphically it feels a little even, like you could just kind of move through the
Yeah.
middle of it, just not quicker, but just spacing wise, kind of favoring the
Yeah.
expressions a little bit. Um,
Okay. Yeah. Wait, you said favoring the actual point, I guess, if you will.
yeah, I mean, I think
Okay.
it's not like taking frames out or anything. It's just kind
hmm
of and maybe it feels better if the point is sharp and then back, but make a decision one way or the other, so it's not just kind of
evenly moving.
All of this like great flourish stuff, and it just needs a little spark to it.
Okay.
This might lose a frame. I mean, it might be a spacing thing as well.
Yeah.
But
it makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
But it's so, I think that could be
much faster.
Yeah. Maybe not as much of a scoop either. I like that it starts off high and then goes low, but like it feels like you could get sort of a quick reversal on that, and then it kind of arcs up. Right now,
right? Okay.
Like it comes over and then translates up.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I'm going to leave this up to you. I like, especially if I'm doing something like this that's all about arcs, I like the arms in FK for that. And then I'll do a lot of posing and stuff in IK just, because I have very specific things, and it's hard to figure out, like, okay, I rotate this and I rotate this in, and you're trying to position stuff like that. That's not
right.
You can do it, but it's sort of a pain. But like,
just
all of the little free arcs and stuff you get by using FK on those arms, it's one of those things that's really hard to fake in IK.
Yeah.
But I mean, for me, it's more a question of just the spacing than. I think you've done a good job with the arcs, so you don't feel like you have to do that. It's just something that when I'm doing something that I know it's all going to be about. There was a guy at Disney who, like, when he would do walks, I just don't have patience for this, but like,
right.
when the foot was on the ground, he would have it in IK, and then he would switch it to FK for like the swing through.
Wow.
So that he would get like, this perfect arc. And
right. Yeah.
It looked great. Everyone else's stuff looked great too.
Yeah.
I appreciate that level of detail, but do it where it buys you something.
Yeah, I get you.
Idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener. When you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener. When you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
I like the kind of movement and stuff you're getting on the hip. It feels a little bit like on this last when he comes forward like this, that you could get a little more I don't know whether it's like rotating the hip forward or something. There's like movement on there, so it doesn't feel completely isolated, but it also kind of doesn't. It feels like he's really leaning in for that last bit, and the kind of stomach area doesn't feel like it changes angle, like it's moving and doing stuff, but it doesn't really feel like it's connected to his spine. Are you cheating is his hand really on his knee, or is that sort of a cheat?
It is actually, it's constrained to his knee. So it's actually been been there the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say just maybe like here where it kind of hyperextends and stuff, I would just either translate the hand up a little bit so that we don't see it. So it feels like the idea would be like if he, rolled
Yeah,
up
kind of.
his
Right.
fingers a little bit or something. Just it feels like this arm, the screen right arm, is just kind of a little poppy and a little distracting.
Sure.
It feels like the shoulders are, maybe that's a little over cranked there, but maybe if the hand was up, I like graphically what it's doing. This feels a little broken to me. So I don't know. Just check whether you need the shoulder quite that high,
Okay.
or if moving the hand feels better. Either way, it just this side is kind of where you want people to be focusing attention, and this just gets a little busy.
Sure. Okay.
A good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener. When you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Lip sync stuff aside, just on the facial, I think that it's looking pretty good. There's a lot of kind of clicky things when he's transitioning through some of the brow shapes, and even some of the lid shapes are a little kind of almost feeling.
They're actually still in step. I
Okay.
just haven't. But
I like what you're doing through this thing with the little kind of, looking up with the inners up and then the switch back. I'm almost wondering if you could use either maybe it's a little half blink or something, but just something that, like right now, the difference between where he's looking there and where he's looking there is pretty subtle. And just, if there's either like keeping the eyes up a little more, and then, so that you see a more clear change of direction, or doing a little, blink readjust or whatever it is, because I like the idea there. It gets a little like, muddy.
Yeah, it's a little like too subtle, I guess. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Maybe just a little more on the hand with the glasses. It kind of snaps down into that thing, and it translates up a little bit, but it's kind of like what we were talking about before, just getting a little
wrist rotation, I guess.
Yeah, kind of like even after you've kind of hit the bottom of the translation on the wrist, have the rotation kind of be the overlap. Like
right.
Don't have the bottom part of your translation on the hand be where the wrist has reversed. You can still have a little bit of drag on it, and then as it settles up into its position, the wrist is still dragging a little bit, and then it settles up into its final thing, just to kind of make it feel like the hand has a little weight and the glasses have a little weight. And
okay, yeah, definitely.
Little stories. Here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
I do this all the time. I don't think other people do, so if it looks stupid, take it out. You're almost doing it anyway, though, so it kind of feels like through this kind of like you could almost like cross his eyes slightly. Because you're breaking out of it pretty quick. He's just being such a dick here. And that is another thing that would kind of when he snaps back and is focused on someone, that would be another thing that would just differentiate those two ideas and make it clear that there's a change of focus.
Right. Yeah, I like that idea. That's funny. Yeah.
When you're telling these little stories, here's a good idea. Have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
So I do that like in real life quite a bit, and when people see my animation, they think I'm being really broad and cartoony when actually I'm just following my reference. But yeah, it's looking really good. Did you have any other questions?
I don't think so. I mean, since I mainly did, like the body, it was, just critique on the body mainly. But I think that's pretty good. I mean, I plan on having it all lip synced, spline, and everything by next week. So just got a little busy at work. So but I'll have it all, going from last week too that I didn't get to.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Sweet. Thanks, Mark.
Sure.